Okay, I have a request for a video on how not to squeak. And this is a good one to review if you want to get a better sound. So the best thing you can do is have a good bow hold. So make sure that pinky is curved and that everything is leaning towards your index finger. So we don't want to be straight on like this. It puts too much weight on the pinky. So fiddle players, we lean to the left, and cellos, you'll be more straight on because you don't need to have your pinky on the bow. But this, having everything leaning this way gives the pinky some break so that it doesn't fall off or straighten out. So you want to make sure our pinky's curved and our thumb is bent on our bow into the hair. You can see on my bow, I have an oil spot right here because my thumb touches the bow. And that also means it's time for a rehair. So if you are getting, there's two kinds of squeaks that people get. One is, actually there's three types of squeaks, so I'll go over all three. One is the crunch, like that. And so if you're doing the crunch, you want to make sure that you use more bow, because if you have a heavy hand into the string, a heavy bow into the string, if you're really pressing down, then you're going to need to draw your bow quicker. So that's more bow speed, more BS. And so say you don't want to play that loud, then you can also lighten up on the pressure. So you want to imagine that you're air bowing here, and that your hand and wrist have a lot of helium, your bow is made of helium, and then eventually you come down and you're lightly brushing the string, and then you add a little bit more pressure, and then you get a nice sound on your string. So if you're heavy, then adjust your bow speed and then lighten up on the pressure as well. If you're getting the second kind of squeak, which I call a ghost, make sure that that's when you don't have enough pressure, and perhaps you are trying to be too careful when you play. You're not grabbing the string initially. So to get rid of that, I'm going to set my bow on the string near the frog here, and I'm going to take my index finger, put it up a little bit higher on the bow, so I just move it up. That gives my my bow a little bit more power into the string, and then see if that solves the problem. And if you're still losing that tone, then you need to press more with your index finger as you bow. So I'm actually pushing down my stick down vertically into the string. And you hear that little kick at the beginning of the note, almost like an accent. So that's me grabbing the string with my index finger. So I press and then release. So I'm grabbing the string and then pulling it. And then you have to apply that same idea to the tip because there's not as much weight up there. So press with your index finger. Until you get a nice solid sound. So that will get rid of your ghost. And know that as you draw your bow towards the tip, I have to apply more pressure or I lose my note. So you have to recalibrate your bow depending on where you're at. It's not an easy thing to do. Okay, the last type of squeak comes from having a bow angle that is slightly towards my elbows out, and I'm crooked and my bow's going behind my head. So this is exaggerated, but when we bow, we want to be very straight with the bridge and the fingerboard. It's if you turn a little bit the other way where my tip is going away from my head, you'll still get a pretty good sound. You just might be getting a little muffled on the fingerboard. But if you're too far out with your elbow here, then it's impossible to get a good sound. So the best thing you can do is open this up. And I'm gonna take my elbow, which is right in front of my chest, and move it to the side. So now it's more out, away from my body. And then when I bow from a small triangle to a large square in the middle, and then coming out to a large triangle, back to square, and then into small triangle. So those are kind of what the elbow's doing. Just have to remember that the elbow does come in at the frog, and then it comes out to square. But as long as you watch yourself in a mirror, that will solve your problem for you. You don't have to think about large triangles and squares, and just think about your bow being straight in the mirror. You aren't going to be able to see it from here. When you put your bow on the string, it will look straight, but it won't be. So you need that mirror to help you get a straight bow. So if you really want to get a good tone, spend about 5 to 10 minutes of your practice bowing on open strings. Remember the E string, much more delicate. So, and your sounding point where your bow should go, for now, for beginners, it's going to be about the middle between your bridge and your fingerboard. So find that middle highway and try to stay there. Okay, I hope some of that helped you, and that you really just practice the bow by itself if you'd like to get a good tone before you add anything going on with the left hand. All right, have fun.